If this next story is any indication, our future is in good hands. And it's also very fitting for Black History Month, as some students are taking matters into their own hands. So joining us live to tell us all about it is the theater co-chair at the Oakland School for the Arts, Tavia Persia. Tavia, thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you, Kumasi. I'm excited to be here.
And I'm just so happy that you shared this with us, because I can't wait to share it with our audience what you are all are doing at Oakland School of the Arts. It's amazing, but it started because you said last year was very hard on campus. What was going on? Why was it so challenging for students?
There was just a lot of feelings around, especially for Black students, feeling unheard and unseen. I think that was just happening in the world at that time. And I think that after coming back from COVID, that was the first full year back from COVID. And I think, these kids had to sit and watch George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery be murdered. And they couldn't go outside. They couldn't do anything. They couldn't say how they feel. They felt really restricted. And so when they got back to school, I think that because there wasn't much talk about it, it kind of felt like they were not being they weren't able to really express themselves in the way they felt about it, in the ways that they felt like they wanted to. And I think it also said a lot about, where we are as a society when children feel like they cannot say how they feel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think it was an OSA thing. I think it was a thing across the world that children just felt that way. They didn't feel like they had a voice in a way.
I agree. We all
Yeah.
felt that. And I can imagine as a student trying to process that, it was difficult. And so tell me what happened. Did they think about, okay, what can we do? Or did you kind of help guide them through that process of having a place to express some of these really challenging feelings?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, it started with conversations, kids coming up to me like, and I'm one of the few Black women on campus, right? So it did feel very familiar for a lot of Black students. And so, they would come and just express how they felt and just like how whitewashed everything felt, not just at OSA again, but just in the world. And so we would talk, and I'm like, what do you want to do about it? How can I help you? Right. And so we began to talk. And then one of my students wrote a poem, and it kind of just sparked in me a project that I had worked on before with other students called Every 28 Hours. And it's a national performance project where you kind of just submit all these 1-minute pieces. Yeah, we just all started writing, and then we started rehearsing, and then it just turned into this full-blown project of amazingness. And yeah, it's incredible.
I love this. So we're seeing now some pictures, it looks like, of either the performances or the rehearsals. That is so awesome. And so 28 hours, talk to me about that name and how this experience really has transformed, I would imagine, you, but also these students.
Man, well, the name came from the 2015 statistic that every 28 hours, a Black person is killed in the US. And, for us, that is not only a thing that happens with white folks. We die in our own communities. It's just in my opinion, an extermination of Black lives right now. And I think that these kids being able to talk, a lot of them have lost people to gun violence, and just, some of them from the police officers. And so for them, this has been a very healing process. They have built a community that is incredible. They are so giving with one another. They understand one another. They give a lot of time and attention to one another. They support each other. If one person is off and having a bad day, we all sit and talk and get it out before we start a rehearsal. I think they've just healed a lot. They've grown a lot. They've got to see it, experience a lot. And I think a lot of it has to do with just like a community, being able to see yourself in what you're doing, you know what I mean? And understand that there's somebody like you who feels like you, who looks like you, and has a lot of similarities.
Yeah, and then I think it's cool that the students are able to share this. So we can see this, we can buy tickets. And I'm interested, what are some of the examples of the performances that students have come up with, and some of the performances that we might be able to see?
Yeah, so one of the pieces is we take a journey. So we start with a piece about just the flag. and what that represents for Black folks in America, the long history of this American flag and what it stood for a very long time. And then we go down to the N word and how, that's a word we had to take back because it was derogatory. We also deal with like letting non-Black people say that word and why that's a problem. We also have a piece about Willie Lynch, the Willie Lynch letter that, literally places Blacks against Blacks in the light skin, dark skin, the male, the female, aspects. We take a journey through the story of Emmett Till, which, ignited the civil rights movement and changed the world. And so we tell the story through the lens of mothers, because I think a lot of times the mothers are left, families in general, but these mothers are left grieving, and we hear about them for a minute and then it's over.
That's true.
And I live across the street. My mom lives across the street from someone who lost her son in this way. And there is not a day goes by that I don't see the pain in her eyes. At least 4 times a year, she's breaking down crying. And, she's having, and that was 13 years ago now. Yeah. And so she's just having to deal with that and walk with that. And it never goes away. For us, it might be a story, but for them, it's life.
I'm so happy you are sharing this and that you've done this work with the students. We only have a few seconds left, but can you just share how people can see these performances and where to get tickets?
You can see this performance at the Marion E. Green Black Box Theater at Oakland School for the Arts, and you can get tickets at oakarts.org.
Tavia, thank you so much for sharing this and just for all the work that you've been doing with these students. I know they appreciate it, and we appreciate you being here.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yes.